He's getting older.
Stupid bitch! Oh, hit the full button!
But not wiser.
Cut that bitch out!
This is The Lefty Show.
Welcome, one and all, to The Lefty Show. I'm your host, Lefty. Glad to be here with all of you for The Lefty Show, episode number 59, on the verge of 60 episodes already. Seems like yesterday I just started this crappy show. I'm just kidding. Thank you all for joining me. Welcome one, welcome all to The Lefty Show. Again, episode number 59 on the 18th of July in the year of our Spaghetti Monster 2014. Today is Friday. Aloha Friday, everybody. It's Friday. Thank you, everybody, for watching, liking, and favoriting and subscribing on YouTube. YouTube.com/LeftyOX is where you can go to find the show in its YouTube formation. Thank you to everybody that's been following me on Twitter. You want to stay up to date on the latest and greatest Lefty Show news? You can do so. Just head on over to twitter.com/Lefty643 or just at Lefty643. Thank you to everyone, sincerely, that has been helping the show grow by sharing it with your friends and family and coworkers. You can share the show. It's much easier on your mobile device if you head on over to leftyshow.podbean.com. That's leftyshow.podbean.com to subscribe manually to the RSS feed. Or you can head on over to your favorite Android podcasting app of choice and search The Lefty Show. Or if you really want to help us climb the charts, head on over to iTunes, get the iTunes client on your phone or on your desktop and search The Lefty Show. And be sure to subscribe to the feed there in the iTunes store and leave a rating if you please. And as always, thank you to everybody helping out monetarily, keeping the ship afloat. Go to imraising.com/643 Productions if you want to do that. Might be a bit of a shortened show today. Not exactly sure. The thing is, here's the dealio. Here's the the dealio, if you'll indulge me. You remember that whole couple shows ago I talked about impulse control and, you know, not patting myself on the back necessarily, but telling a story, regaling you with a story about how I conquered impulse in buying a PlayStation 4 on my birthday and treating myself to something nice. You remember that whole thing? Talked about the fat, ugly girl at the bar cock-blocking my want of a PS4. Excuse me. Remember that? Remember that? Yeah, it was a good story, right? Yeah, you see, the funniest and somewhat craziest thing happened. I don't know what happened to that fat girl, but she apparently found a tray of hot wings or something, and I was able to take home the beautiful, lovely lady that is a Sony PlayStation 4, and I got it here next to me, and been playing it, downloaded the Destiny beta, part of that, and got a few other games. So yeah, I got that whole PlayStation 4 thing, gearing up to do some streaming later, hopefully later today, and later today, Friday, the 18th of July, and more in the coming future. There's Destiny is going to be coming out there, and again, I settled on a console because I think Destiny could be a lot of fun, and I've been in the market for a new console for a while because while I am PC Master Race, there are definite upsides to console gaming, and Destiny's coming out first on consoles and only to PC later. So if I want to be part of the hype train of Destiny, if it turns out to be something really cool, I'm gonna need a console to do that, and we'll see how games, next generation games like the next generation iteration of Grand Theft Auto 5, we'll see how that runs on the new generation of consoles, and see if because I like playing those kinds of games. There are certain games that are just better with a controller, and yes, I know you can use a controller with a PC, but for the purposes of streaming and recording, I want to be able to bring the best quality possible. And if I can offload the rendering of the video game to something else like a console and then devote my PC to actually encoding the video for a stream or a recording, then I don't give my PC two very taxing tasks in rendering a video game and encoding said video game for stream to you guys, and that will allow for better quality. We'll see, though, if I can get 1080p 60 on the PS4 when Grand Theft Auto 5 comes out, well, then I might be inclined to do that. But if 1080p 60 is only reserved for PC, well, then the answer is obvious. And that's assuming that I can do 1080p 60 streaming. So I've got a PlayStation 4, and I've been playing the Destiny beta. Streams are going to commence. And the craziest thing happened yesterday, because I got it and I hooked it all up. I've got an internal capture card. I've got the Blackmagic Intensity Pro. It's pro. It's pro. Here's what happened. So I set it all up, and I'm like, ooh. You know, I got something to do later tonight, but tomorrow I'll be able to stream in 1080. Oh, my God, 1080 Destiny is going to be amazing. I can't do it. I spent 45 minutes futzing around with changing out HDMI outputs and trying to match up the output of the PlayStation 4 with the whatever the Blackmagic Intensity Pro capture card was looking for as an input, and I couldn't do 1080. I can't do 1080. I can only do 720 60, but I don't think there's any games that run at 60 FPS on the PlayStation 4 as of right now, except maybe Call of Duty. And the funniest thing was, after researching, banging my head against the wall for 45 minutes, I felt like an idiot. I said, what am I doing wrong? Because in the Blackmagic Intensity settings, like with the thing that's labeled Blackmagic Design, and you can change the settings of whatever it is you're doing, in that setting, it said 1080p 30 frames per second. It can't do 1080 60. It can do 1080i 60, it says. But 1080p 30 is the best it can do. And I click that. I'm like, this is what I want. And I'm outputting the PlayStation at 1080p, and it's got to match up, and it's got to be looking for the right thing, and it's got to be outputting the right thing to work. But it wasn't working. And it got to the point where I was looking at myself in the mirror like, what are you doing, you gigantic dumb douchebag? What are you doing wrong? You have to be doing something wrong. The Blackmagic Intensity Pro says it can do 1080p 30. The PlayStation is outputting 1080p 30. What are you doing wrong? You idiot lefty have to be doing something wrong. Self-deprecating, I was showing my self-deprecation was on display. Like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Because you do that when you know something should work and it's not. Eventually, after you try, you look at yourself in the mirror, figuratively or maybe literally, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? You immediately go to you. What have I done to anger the technology gods? What have I done to anger the car mechanic gods? I know this should work. I know internal combustion engines work. We've been doing that for a long time. We got it. So I know that if I attach, the battery, or if I reattach the thermostat and I put it in here and it should work and the check engine light should come off. I know that's how this fucking thing works. What am I doing wrong? And I know, well, at least I thought I knew, that the Blackmagic Intensity Pro capture card, which I paid $200-something for, I believe, 2.5 years ago when I was building my PC originally. It was one of the original, like, boasting 1080p internal capture cards. And I figured, well, for my business, I might as well splurge on the $200 internal capture card because that's going to be the best quality available. I have the Xbox 360, which can't do 1080 right now, but 1080 for something is coming. Might as well get it now. I know that, again, I thought I knew it could do this. What the fuck am I doing wrong? Well, then I do some research. Pop on down to the Googles, to the old internet machine. Do a little searching. And as it turns out, the Blackmagic Intensity Pro cannot do 1080p 30 frames per second. It can't do it, at least with regards to the PlayStation 4. Now, here I was wasting 45 minutes of my time, my life, because Blackmagic told me it could do it. The capture card told me, yes, I can do this. So I thought, okay, it can do it. It seemed a reasonable assumption at the time. Because I know some people are going to say, well, just do the research. I say, well, hold on a second. Why would it be unreasonable for me to listen to the thing that says, yes, I can do this? If somebody comes up to me, if you're in an office setting or you're working with somebody and you're delegating responsibility, I am delegating the responsibility of encoding digital media, recording, encoding, and outputting digital media because I can't do it myself. I'm not a fucking computer. Hello, computer. I am delegating that responsibility to the Blackmagic Intensity Pro. I'm sorry, I have to say it's Pro because that's the most expensive one. At least it was. And the Blackmagic Intensity Pro did the office equivalent of walking up to me and saying, hey, give me this part of the project. Your streaming, your recording stuff is a gigantic project, and encoding the video is one portion of that project. Give me that portion, I can do it. And I said, okay, here's $200 and something. Go do it. Turns out it can't fucking do it. It says it can, but it can't. So I wasted 45 minutes going on an hour of my time, and you know how angry I can get with myself for being an idiot, which I do plenty of times. And I wasted 45 minutes of my time hammering myself. Not in a good way. Not in the way. No, I was giving myself the business. I give lots of people the business, right? Some people may have caught my ire, and so angry, blah blah blah. I was doing that to myself. That's what I was doing to myself for 45 minutes because I'm like, I know this is supposed to work. I know this is how it's supposed to work. No, can't do it. Can't do it. Blackmagic Design bills this card as being able to do this thing, but it can't really do it. It can kind of see it, and it'll fuck up the image, and it'll display something that's in kind of 1080, but it's all fucked up. And yes, HDCP was turned off before somebody yells at me about that. And I wasn't mad. The card is 2.5 years old. The technology is at least that old. And I understand that there's better capture cards out there right now. And I got one. I had to spend another $180 for overnight shipping to get something that can do 1080, something that goes into my PCIe slot and can do 1080, so I can bring you guys top-of-the-line content, at least as top-of-the-line as I can get right now. And I was sitting there thinking, like, what in the fuck? I can't rely on anything anymore. A product, a service, anything offered by anybody, if they say we can do this, I can't rely on that. I talk a lot about accountability on this show. And recently I've talked about consumers being responsible. Originally, it was just people being accountable for their own, in like a social setting. Now I'm talking about like a consumer in the economical sense. You be responsible for your own actions within our economy on some level. You get protection, but then up until a certain point, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, is in play. And it's in play for a reason, because you can't just place the entire onus on everybody selling a product. Of course they're going to try to differentiate their product from you, and of course it's going to be a little bit of bullshit. Oh, we got the best tires on the market, discount tire. Really? No, you don't. Bring our tire back for free. No, that's not really part of the deal. There's a lot of bullshit trying to differentiate it. You can't place the responsibility for that squarely on the shoulders of the people trying to sell the products, because you're saying, well, you are responsible for selling your own product. You are responsible for differentiating yourself, but you can't go too far. You can't go X amount of far. Now, there are rules like that, and for good reason, but you can't. It's not to the point of you have to just antiseptically create your product. These are discount tires. Buy discount tires now. Thank you. That is all. You get a little bit of leeway, and in that leeway, the consumer is responsible for their own actions. You get protected a little bit for a little bit of bullshit, because that's reasonable. Of course it's reasonable. But past a certain point, past a certain point, caveat emptor no longer applies. And yeah, you can't be selling people rat poison as M&Ms. You'd be like, well, look at little Johnny eating the M&Ms and he loves rat poison and whoa. You can't do that. And so I talk a lot about accountability and people being accountable, consumers being accountable for things they buy and how they act. You know, you buy something, you say, it didn't do what I wanted it to. What the fuck? You see that a lot on eBay and Amazon. When you're buying something, you go into Newegg, you go and it's like, I bought this for this purpose and it didn't work. Fuck this product. Well, wait, you tried to use it for a purpose that it was never really intended to do. Why? That's not the product's fault. You're just an idiot. Why are you upset? I don't think that this is my fault. It shouldn't be. Please, somebody tell me it shouldn't be that when somebody tells me, hey, I can do 1080p 30 frames per second, I don't have to immediately go out then and do all the research to make sure completely that yes, they can do that it can do 1080p 30. When somebody presents me with a hyper technical point and says, I can do 1080p 30, I can output 1080p 30 frames per second, I say, okay, I'm not going into the software, I'm not going into the technical specifications, which I can find online before I make the purchase, to research it, because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You made this hyper-technical point, and I don't know enough, and it's unreasonable to expect me to do the research to know enough to debate you on the hyper-technical point that you made. You say 1080p 30, I say, okay, that doesn't seem unreasonable to me. And then I find out when I finally need it, because I'd never needed it before, because the only console streaming I did was from something that couldn't output 1080p. It doesn't work. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it's there if you're in the YouTube business, you want to be in the YouTube business, you know anybody that does this kind of stuff, ask them if they have a Blackmagic Intensity Pro. I guarantee you, tell them go through and look to see if it says it can do 1080, and it does, but it actually can't. And there's no recourse for that. What am I going to do? Who am I going to bitch to except you? Outside of you guys, who am I going to go bitch to? You can bitch to me. No, I don't want to bitch to you. I don't even want to see you, know you, or anybody that looks like you, Eugene. And similarly, researching, because now I need 1080p 30, because now it's, initially, the initial splurge was like, all right, now this is going to be a thing. And now there's an extra, now I look and, oh shit, now I got to spend an extra $150, almost $200 to bring, which is an investment in my business to be sure, but who likes spending $150 to $200 when they didn't think they had to? I thought I had it all wrapped up and in the bag. So I go and I start researching capture cards. And there's the AverMedia Live Gamer HD C985, I believe is what I got. And even now, in the capture card game, in the technical, hardware game, you see a lot of people say 1080p 60. This AverMedia can do 1080p 60. 1080p 60 video, all you want. And I did some more research. No, it can't actually do it. It can read 1080p 60 frames per second, which is a lot of data, especially at gaming bit rates. It can see all that, and it can see it and pass it through, but it can only record, or rather output, 1080p 30 frames per second. It only has the horsepower to record at 1080p 30, which is not, strictly speaking, half the bit rate, but it's certainly, or half the data, but it's certainly a lot less. And AverMedia's out there, 1080p 60, 1080p 60. Other capture cards in the game, I know Hapog is coming out with one, or has one, and Blackmagic has a few other products, and a lot of capture cards are boasting 1080p 60, 1080p 60, but they can't actually do what they're saying. They can see it, but they can't do anything with it because they don't have the horsepower, firmware, software, whatever the problem is, they can't do it. And there's no recourse for any of it. You can't just say, hey, what the fuck, AverMedia? No, stop saying, there's no governing body to say, stop saying 1080p 60 when you can't do 1080p 60. And it seems like a narrow technical point, like, well, what do you care about anyway? Well, 1080p 60 frames per second is a huge selling point. That would be like saying, well, come down to Bob's Ford dealership and get the 6-cylinder Ford Fusion. And you get there, and it's a 4-cylinder engine with 2 cylinders bolted on. And it's like, well, it's a 6-cylinder engine. It's like, yeah, but the extra 2 cylinders don't fucking do anything. They say, well, there's 6 cylinders there, though. He said, yeah, but they don't fucking work. I can't use these. I mean, I can see the cylinders. The cylinders are there. Shit, they might even be hooked up to the motor, but they're completely welded shut. I can't use these these 2 cylinders. Well, what's the big deal? There are 6. I mean, you're only using 4, but we've allowed the bullshit to go too far. While it's reasonable to allow a little bit of bullshit in advertising, in marketing, it's okay to allow a little bit of bullshit because, well, all right, it cures what ails you. Go see a doctor. You go see a doctor. Go and you see a doctor is reasonable. You don't just go out and buy Lipitor or Viagra. You go to see your fucking doctor because you do your own research when you're taking care of your health stuff. Caveat emptor. And if you were to say, well, they said and my dick fell off, and they say, well, did you go see your doctor? And you said, well, no. Yeah, it's not their fault. What do you want from them? They made these claims, which are technically true, but the hard backing was, please go see your doctor. No, but who's going to pay for my dick? And it's just gone way too far. The notion of selling bullshit or using bullshit to sell a product or to sell a service. Comcast Internet. We're the fastest around. Fastest. We're the best. And it's like, let me tell you something. Anytime you hear a Comcast commercial or a Time Warner commercial, and they start throwing around megabits per second, whatever the megabit per second rate is, take half of that and probably have it again, and that's really what you can use at any given time. If they say you're getting 20 megabits per second download, you probably only are able to utilize 5. If they say you've got 10 megabits per second upload, you're probably only able to utilize about 2.5 to 5 megabits per second at any given time. And it's bullshit. They know that you can't utilize it. They know that the speed tests are all bullshit. They know that that's not effective throughput of your internet. Your internet is your internet's actual throughput. The actual ability to send data at a given rate is not anywhere close to what they sell you. Not anywhere close. You could connect to a server in the next room over through Comcast's internet. The server is connected to Comcast internet, and your connection is to Comcast internet, and it only exists on the Comcast network, on the backbone. You're only getting them probably about 25 to 50% of what you pay for. And yeah, it's okay because they're an information service, right? Netflix finally came out. A bunch of Redditors got together and went to the FCC to finally, people are standing up, and Netflix isn't shrouding in telling everybody else to go to the FCC. Netflix finally stood up to the FCC and said, reclassify internet carriers as common carriers. Reclassify them as utilities. They aren't information services anymore, because when you classify them as information services, they can get away with all this bullshit. Nothing you buy, nothing you pay for in the internet realm is guaranteed. Nothing, the speeds, connection, nothing. But that fucking changes when you pay for a phone line. That changes when you pay for an electrical connection to your house. When you pay an electrical or water bill, that shit is fucking there. And the government is backing the availability of it. The government says, regulates. This is what you said. I think, what is it, 212 volts, 210? The 210 line, bam, that's what people get. And you have to bring it to them. You want to be a utility corporation? Fine. You got to bring people this. And this is how we regulate it. And we're going to have oversight on you, and it's going to be a fucking thing. It's done. But the information service, woohoo, yaha time. It's just bullshit. You look around anywhere in the consumer space, and this is why I plead with people to take a stats course in high school at least. Doesn't even have to be AP. Just take some math course where you deal with statistics and then go watch television for a while. And yes, watch the commercials because that's where you need to see them. Watch the commercials and hear all the bullshit that people try to spew at you. And when you cut through all the bullshit, you realize how much of it there is. Like, holy fuck. When I was having problems with Comcast Internet, it took at the time I was paying for 10 megabits per second. And I was trying to stream at 7 megabits per second. 70% of what I pay for. Could not do it. Couldn't do it. Could not do it. The only rate at which the maximum rate at which my stream was stable to a Twitch server in Chicago was 5 megabits per second. Half. 50% of what I pay for. 50%. And so I called the bitch, and I would bitch constantly because I want what I fucking pay for. And I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to want what I pay for. You promised, you said this. You said this. This is what you said. That's an offer. I considered, accepted, bam. And now I'm paying for it. I want it. So I'd bitch and bitch and bitch. And it got to the point where the guy said, okay, well, we're going to put you on the highest tier available, which is 100 down, 20 up. I thought, oh, shit. This is going to be the fucking 20 up? Oh, my God. I can't believe what I'm going to be able to do with 20 megabits per second upload. I can't believe what I'm going to be. Oh, my goodness. The floodgates have opened. I have seen the light. Jesus H. Tap Dancing Christ. I have seen the light. Maximum sustainable upload, 10 megabits per second. It took me being upgraded to the highest tier possible, leapfrogging an entire internet tier in order to be able to get originally what I had fucking paid for. To get that. To get 10 megabit per second upload, I had to leapfrog an entire tier and pay for the top line. Past that, wasn't happening. Not able to be done. But none of that changed. None of the marketing changed for Comcast Internet. They still promise you bullshit, and I guarantee you if you go test your connection, your upstream connection or your downstream connection to a different server, not via speed test, but say downloading a game from Steam or uploading a video to YouTube, because who do you think has more upload or download bandwidth, YouTube, Steam, or you? And you're going to get about half of what you pay for. Probably a little bit less. And that's why we need to rein in marketing and advertising. And two, we need to reclassify internet providers as common carriers, as utilities. You can't let them get away with this bullshit anymore. 25 megabits per second down is 25 megabits per second down. Because with Commonwealth Edison, 210 volt line, or whatever it is, I believe it's 210. A 210 volt line is 210 fucking volts. That's what it is. There's no like, oh, there was a congestion in the server and there's a congestion. 210 volts is 210 volts. That's what you fucking get. Now, it may go down once in a while, and we'll try our best to get it back up, but 210 is 210. That's what you fucking get. And that's what you can draw from, and you will pay based on your usage of that. And it's guaranteed, backed by the fucking government. The government has a stake in us providing this to you. Make that for internet providers. No more of this peering quasi holding of Netflix hostage and Amazon Instant Video and Google Video, internet. No more holding people hostage with your internet connection, Comcast, Time Warner, Verizon, all these people. No more of that. If it takes, and the saddest thing is that it would take government intervention to make sure, government reclassification, intervention, and then reclassifying a private business as something else. It would take that to make somebody give what they promise in a commercial setting. The consumer, they promise something to a consumer. The consumer is paying them for that. They're not actually getting it. It would take government intervention and reclassification of a private business to make sure that happens. To make sure that that's the way it works. Do we... How can anybody look at these facts of life? You hear the Comcast call and the guy berating somebody trying to turn off his service. One was holding his account hostage while he was on the phone, trying to get off. Like, no, just let me turn off my fucking service. No, let's talk about this, talk about that, blah, 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 condescension, all that stuff. You hear all of that. You hear all these horror stories about Comcast, about Time Warner, about Cox Communications, if you follow Boogie2988 on Twitter. You hear all these horror stories from people. And do we really think it's a good idea to let humans loose on each other completely without any oversight whatsoever? What? We think that's a good idea? You honestly think that humans... What? Even now, with the level of oversight, even now, human-run corporations, human-controlled corporations with a profit motive are finding every single ounce they can to fuck with people. Because, and again, I don't mean to rail on free market, but I know somebody's going to say it. Look, before you give me the competition spiel, you go try to go try to start up an internet. Go try to start up an ISP locally, just locally, not even countywide. Go to your local municipality and try to start a local ISP. Try to get the rights of way. Then you got to pay to pull cable. Then you got to do all that. Don't give me this, if competition, okay, yeah, barriers are all brought down now. Who the fuck is going to compete with Comcast? Who? The only reason Google is competing in places is because municipalities and cities are handing the fucking keys over to them. It's not just like Google appears and bids on a job and bids to get the rights of way. The local municipalities are handing the fucking keys over. You get access to everything. Sewage lines, all this stuff. Anywhere you want to pull your cable, Google, you get it. That's not competition. Go ahead and try to be an internet startup, an ISP startup. See how high the barrier for entry actually is when you try to actually compete. There's no such thing as competition. No such thing. You can't create it. You just leveling oversight is not going to create competition. That's not how it's done. All it would do is cement Comcast, Time Warner, Verizon, Cox as the be-all, end-all in their areas. Nobody's going to do any better. They're all going to come together and say, oh, I tell you, we got to come together and make sure to not offer anything better than this or that in any single area. If we all decide that 50 down, 10 up is the maximum we can do for $85 a month, then that's the best we can do. We can all make a lot of money that way. Guarantee you that would happen. Because we are human. Humans. We're pieces of shit. For the most part. Well, sometimes. Should not say for the most part. Sometimes. All right, let's do some news. We got a lot to talk about today in the news, the Lefty Show. Strippers are fighting the man in L.A. or San Diego, that is. A bunch of strippers are fighting for their rights to not be viewed as nude or something. Red light cameras in Chicago coming under fire as they tag thousands for undeserved tickets. And Vladimir Putin is blaming MH17's crash on the Ukraine. We've got a lot to talk about in the news today with Lefty. Let's get into the news. In San Diego, California, of course. This is from the LA Times. Strippers' rights to avoid unreasonable search and seizure were violated by San Diego Vice Squad officers, said a lawyer whose firm filed suit on behalf of 30 strippers seeking damages from the city and police chief. The lawsuit filed Wednesday seeks unspecified damages for emotional distress and pain allegedly caused by officers during licensing inspections. The damages should be sufficient to punish and to make an example of the city and police chief Shelley Zimmerman and to deter others from engaging in similar conduct. The strippers were employed at Cheetah's Gentlemen's Club and Club Expose when members of the police department's Vice Squad detained them and forced them to pose for pictures during raids in 2013 and 2014, according to the lawsuit filed in Superior Court. The strippers were nearly nude when their pictures were taken, and officers made arrogant and demeaning remarks and intimidated the strippers to keep them from leaving, the lawsuit alleges. The lawsuit followed a claim filed with the city in March, which was rejected. Nude entertainment establishments require a city permit, which gives police the right to make, quote, regular inspections and requires employees to show their identification cards, according to police spokesman Lieutenant Kevin Mayer. Taking photographs of the employees, including of distinctive tattoos, is a routine part of the inspection process, Mayer added. Inspections are meant to deter the employees from engaging in illegal acts. The San Diego Code mandates we make these inspections, Mayer said. This is not a criminal matter. This is a regulatory matter. If the strippers were dancing or waiting their turn to dance, officers waited to interview them and photograph them. Now, it may seem that, oh, well, that's the law. That's part of their license with the local municipality, and this is all on the up and up. What's the big issue? What's the beef? Where's the beef? It's what's for dinner. Here's the thing about a lot of this. When you do, is anybody else struck by the imagery that taking photographs of the employees, including distinctive tattoos, is a routine part of the inspection process? Isn't that what they do in prisons? Isn't that what they do? They take photos of distinctive tattoos, and they take photos of all over the joint of the different prisoners coming in so that they can tell who's who and what's what. And so that they can keep track of prisoners in fucking prison. So now you're going to coked out blondes and taking pictures of their snatch. Do you take pictures of their snatch? I mean, that would probably be pretty identifying, would it not? Snatch pictures and pictures of, you know, whatever it is, probably the most hip tattoos, tramp stamps, and shoulder tattoos for strippers, I would guess. Probably not a lot of them are sleeved up. But the reason that a lot of municipalities do this, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to drop a little knowledge on you here, is this is an attempt to deter the mere opening of strip clubs. The barrier for entry into being in the strip club business, primarily in the South or in many municipalities, is really, really, really high. You have to have all these licensing. If you want to be a stripper, you have to submit to these raids, because how does taking pictures of a stripper's snatch or titties, how does that prevent, you know, handies in the back? How does that prevent a stripper from taking a guy on the back and giving him an HJ for $50? How does that prevent it? Okay, you know what the tattoo on this above this fucking stripper's cooter looks like. All right. She's still giving out handies. She's going to leave and go give out a handy in the back. She's going to go blow a guy in the VIP section for 150 bones. This isn't going to prevent anything. All it's going to do, the only reason it exists, is to humiliate and make life difficult for the owner-proprietors of stripping establishments or gentlemen's clubs. And can we dispense with that, please? Brief aside, sidebar, please. Let's stop with the gentlemen's club. Stop it. Just stop. Stop, stop, stop. Let's stop pretending that this is anything other than what it is. Guys wanting to go look at titties. That's all it is. They just want to go look at tits. Maybe get a blowjob. Maybe. That's all they want to do. They're not going to, high-powered business. There's no business meetings going on at strip joints. They're going there to look at tits and get boners. Why you would want to go sit next to other men with a gigantic boner in your pants looking at the same naked woman, and you know the guy next to you, the guy on your left, the guy on your right has a gigantic fucking boner in their shorts, and you've got one too. Why you would want to do that, I don't know. It's beyond me. But these aren't gentlemen. This isn't like, oh, it's time for high tea in the great room. Please let us all adjourn there so that we can partake in parcheesi and high tea. Maybe some backgammon later, Nigel, I do say. These aren't gentlemen. This isn't a country club. They should call country clubs gentlemen's clubs. That's what it should be. There's not a lot of country clubs that actually exist out in the country. You call them gentlemen. Call country clubs gentlemen's clubs. You call strip joints, stripper joints, whatever you want to call them. Stop calling them gentlemen's clubs, because they're not. It's just a bunch of guys want to go get boners looking at the equivalent of softcore porn. Maybe get a blowjob if they got game and a couple hundreds in their pocket. Let's stop calling them gentlemen's clubs. But what these laws and licensing procedures and raids exist to do solely is to, one, make life difficult for people that want to be in the strip joint business because, stripping is bad, despite, I guess, people wanting to do it, and it being taxable. And two, it's meant to out and humiliate strippers to the primarily religious community. It usually happens in smaller towns where they take pictures and then there's probably available in some database or somewhere, and they use that to out strippers to the community so that the community can shame them and they can be run off because strippers are viewed as riffraff and we don't want them in our community, so let's just out them as a stripper and then blah, 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 blah. They're witch hunts. They are the modern day equivalent of witch hunts. Same thing with prostitution stings, specifically homosexual prostitution stings. That's not really, it's not like homosexual prostitution is a big deal. It's a scourge of a community. It's just we want to find out who the homos are in our community because God says they're evil, and we want to out them and get them out. So how do we do that? We veil it in a police procedure. And now not only are you a homo, well, you're engaging in prostitution. They act like they're outraged at the prostitution. Oh, my God, the prostitution. Oh, my God, how dare you. Prostitution, prostitution, prostitution. It's awful. But what they're really doing is outing homosexuals as homosexuals. And they just get out. You're shamed. Ha, ha, ha. Now everybody knows that you're gay. Now everybody knows because it's part of the fucking police reports. And you can't live that life anymore. You're probably not going to be able to face your neighbors or anything if you've been trying to keep it a secret, so now you need to get out of our community. It's really a way for rural towns, again, primarily religious towns, to rid themselves of undesirables. Now, if it happened in the South and it had to do with primarily, I don't know, black people, well, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton would be there lickety-fucking split, wouldn't they? If a municipal town in Alabama was using some kind of bullshit police action to rid themselves of undesirables, and in this case, undesirables happen to be black people or minorities, they'd be all over the place. They'd be national news, front and center, constantly. Oh my fucking God! Look at what the heathens in Alabama are doing. How dare they? And rightfully so, because fuck that. That's not fucking cool. You can't go around doing that. You can't abuse your municipal power to discriminate against people just because you don't like them. No, that's not okay. No bueno, senor or senorita. We would shame them, rightfully so, publicly, and it would probably rise to the national stage. But you do it to strippers and homos, and it's just police action. It's just because prostitution is bad, man. We gotta rid ourselves of these vices. They're awful and bad, and all the bad things that go along with them. Nobody says anything when local municipalities are abusing their municipal power to shame and effectively ostracize strippers and homos. Because who cares about strippers and homos anyway, right? I mean, come on. They're less than people, pretty much. This should be a national story. This should be talked about on a national stage. Look at what these fucking yokels are doing. Look at what they're doing. Look at what these people are doing to just random people that want to strip. Stripping isn't inherently evil, just like porn. Being a porn star isn't inherently bad or evil or wrong. Why is there these stigmas surrounding these things? There's certainly a stigma still surrounding homosexuality. What the fuck? And we allow it on a government level. Discrimination, well, it's not necessarily discrimination, it's exile, effective exile from a local community done by the government. And we're just, that's what's, yeah. You want to sign up to be a stripper? That's the way to go about it. Is that a bunch of vice cops Probably how many of them male. Just take a guess. Take a guess how many vice cops are male, the percentage. Just a percentage. Pick one. 75%? That's probably incredibly fucking generous, but I'll give it to you. 75%. Vice cops get to, one day, what do you get to do today, Bob? Well, today I got to go to a strip joint and take pictures of the strippers. Because, prostitution? Drugs? I just got to take pictures of silicone boobies and coked out blondes. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. That's all they do. They just go to a strip club and just start taking pictures of naked strippers or nearly naked strippers. You know, because you got to respect the girls. Just so to make sure they're respected, they got to wear a G-string. That is such a level of respect. No G-string, I'm treating you like an animal. Treating you like an object. But you put on a G-string, we got nothing to say. You and I, me and you, we are equals. It just so happens that your name is Cheyenne or Cayenne, and you're on stage shaking your $5,000 tits in my face. And and I'm shoving dollar bills into your G-string. Or $5 bills, because I'm a big roller. Big dog, big stroker. That's what they do. They come down and say, hey, big stroker. It's my name. They all know me as Big Stroker. That's my new gamer tag. If this was happening, again, to reiterate, if this was happening with black people in Alabama, wouldn't everybody be incredibly outraged about this? If this was black people in Alabama or Mississippi or Arkansas, some town in Arkansas using the Vice Squad to roust minorities and out them as, I don't know, gangbangers, maybe even gangbangers, homosexuals, or strippers. There's certainly homosexual minorities, but they just focus on the minority homosexuals to try to oust them, get the riffraff out. It'd be a national story. But it's strippers in San Diego, or it's homos in, I don't know, some Oklahoma. And it's just, oh, well, yeah, that sucks. That sucks. But, yeah. I wonder what's the difference. What's the difference between the minorities and the homosexuals and women who just have a different job than many, many people? I feel bad for the guy that one stripper in northern New York who because apparently, if I had to guess, if there was a community to take pictures of the strippers, that chick probably lived in one. How many cops have I stripped for? I feel bad for that cop who had to take that bitch's pictures. And they raided him like, hey, Bobby, how's it going? Like, oh, son of a fucking bitch. You want to see the goods? No. No. Put it away. Oh, God, put it away. No. Let me back up 45 feet. Profile shot, please. I don't want to see it. Oh, God, it smells. Oh, God, it smells. What is that? How do you even create that smell? Keep it clean down there, ladies, because sometimes it can get funkity-funky. It's not fun. In other news, that was an actual cough that I turned into a semi-gag. That was an actual cough that I turned into a gag for comedic purposes, and it's hitting me pretty hard. Not gonna lie. Anyway, in other news, red light cameras in Chicago are fucking people, and I got a problem with it, of course. This is from the Chicago Tribune. Thousands of Chicago drivers have been tagged with $100 red light fines they did not deserve, targeted by robotic cameras during a series of sudden spikes in tickets that city officials say they cannot explain, a Tribune investigation has found. The Tribune's analysis of more than 4 million tickets issued since 2007 and a deeper probe of individual cases revealed clear evidence that the deviations in Chicago's network of 380 cameras were caused by faulty equipment, human tinkering, or both. Chicago transportation officials say they had no knowledge of the wild swings in ticketing until they were told by the Tribune, even though City Hall legally required the camera vendor to watch for the slightest anomaly in ticketing patterns every day. Many of the spikes lasted weeks. The lack of oversight raises new questions about the controversial traffic enforcement program, the largest in the country, now embroiled in a federal corruption probe into Of course, yeah, something in Chicago and Illinois, of course there's got to be a federal corruption probe. It would not be a Chicago project unless there was a federal corruption probe. God, this is just such an awful fucking city. This town sucks. Now embroiled in a federal corruption probe into allegations that the city's longtime red light camera manager took bribes from the camera company. Of course, why not? Something is terribly amiss here, said Joseph Schofer, an associate dean at Northwestern University's McCormick School of Engineering and Applied Science, who reviewed the Tribune's research. Schofer, who has served as an advisor on city transportation committees, said the findings prove the system is broken. The only reasonable explanation is that it is something involved in the technology, he said. Whether it's diabolical or mechanical or electronic and accidental, I can't look inside people's souls and know that, but the evidence is pretty strong. He and 3 other national experts who reviewed the Tribune's findings suggested that drivers are entitled to refunds, whatever the cause of the spikes. A 10-month Tribune investigation documented more than 13,000 questionable tickets at 12 intersections that experienced the most striking spikes. Similar patterns emerged at dozens of other intersections responsible for tens of thousands of more tickets. Among the key findings, cameras that for years generated just a few tickets daily suddenly caught dozens of drivers a day. One camera near the United Center rocketed from generating 1 ticket per day to 56 per day for a 2-week period last summer before mysteriously dropping back down to normal, and on and on and on from there. So good on the Tribune. Holy shit, this is a 7-page expose on their website. Good. I'd like to see long-form content. That's good. Of course, it's broken up into 7 pages, and websites don't necessarily have to have pages. I get it. The Tribco. I see what you're doing. Now, here's the problem I have with red light cameras, and here's the problem with the system in general, primarily. And this is mainly throughout the country. Liability, assumption of liability. The way these things work is unless the camera is positioned to positively identify the driver, using, I don't know, maybe driver's license photos, maybe that database. If the camera is not oriented to positively identify the driver, in many states or areas, the license plate is the license plate of the car is captured in a snapshot, and then a ticket is generated and auto-mailed to the person where the ticket is registered, to the owner of the car. The owner of the car was not identified as the driver. But if you are caught, or if your car, in many areas, I believe Colorado is one state in which if you are not identified positively as the driver, the ticket is null and void. But if the ticket, if your car, or rather your license plate is seen doing something illegal, supposedly illegal by one of these cameras, and you also just have to hope that the camera isn't fucked up and going from 2 tickets a day to 56 a day for a 2-week period, you have to hope that it's not screwed up. That ticket is automatically sent to you. Automatically. And you're liable. It's not like, oh, well, what is this? It's not like an inquisition, like, hey, did you do this? It's a fucking ticket. It's a civil offense, not criminal, but it's just, here is a ticket, pay it. Here's a $100 fine, $150, $200 fine, pay it, or we're going to fuck you real bad. And that's all. And people, this passes muster with courts and with people. They say, well, yeah, you were probably driving. I say, what the we accept so much bullshit. Why is it acceptable that the state or county or the city does not have to definitively prove that you were driving the car, that you, the owner of the vehicle, were driving the car before they can send you a fucking ticket? Does that not matter anymore? Are we just so, well, if you are accused of something, we've gone from innocent until proven guilty to, if you've been accused of something, you probably did something wrong. That's the problem with our society. We've gone from innocent until proven guilty. We've gone from skeptical to accusatory. We've gone from, well, we'll see what happens. He's entitled to, or he or she is entitled to their day in court to, oh man, this guy's Jameis Winston is a fucking rapist. Whoa, stop. Hold on a second. And it's okay. And this is okay, and this makes sense in people's minds, and there are learned people, judges who say, yes, this is okay. And I know before somebody says, well, as somebody who enjoys the law, you should know that if the courts say it's okay, then it's okay. Oh, really? Well, then what about Dred Scott? What about that? What about that the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, completely nullified the Missouri Compromise, just struck it down, saying, no, can't do that because it violates the fucking state's rights. You can't just say slavery is, the federal government can't just say slavery is illegal west of the Mississippi. You can't do that. That's unconstitutional. Done. Dred Scott returned to his owner. You are not free just because you're transported into a free land. What about Prigg versus Pennsylvania? Look that up. Courts get shit wrong all the time. I mean, you can argue that Marbury versus Madison, the original case where the Supreme Court bootstrapped itself into what it is today, set itself on the course. You could make the argument that, yeah, no, that's constitutionally speaking, that's wrong. The Supreme Court is an Article III court, and nowhere in Article III in the Constitution does it say that the Supreme Court has these responsibilities or powers. Doesn't exist. But in Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court just said, yeah, no, we're doing this. Dred Scott, upholding slavery. Prigg versus Pennsylvania, again, upholding slavery. Is it? If the courts say it's okay, then it's right, isn't it? I get this all the time. I say the War Powers Act is bullshit. How could it possibly be constitutional? And people say, well, it passed Supreme Court muster. And I said, no, it didn't. I mean, just because it did, and also just because it did in this narrow technical sense, doesn't mean that the Supreme Court got it right. Because if you say that, well, then slavery should still be legal. It's not. But the Supreme Court multiple times took a look at slavery, took a long, hard look at slavery and said, yeah, this is pretty good. Yeah, okay, yeah, here you go. No. Oh, you think you're free? No, you're not. Back to your owner. The highest court in the land has done that multiple times. So I refuse to accept the notion that just because some rinky-dink court said, oh, no, yeah, it's totally reasonable for cities or counties to send you hundreds of dollars worth of tickets just because it's reasonable to assume that you were driving the car because you're the owner of the car. Yeah, that's not unreasonable. How does that not fucking violate due process? How does that not at all violate due process? And we just accept it's just, oh, yeah, well, because that's, if you're accused of doing something wrong, well, what do you have to hide? You should go and because I know there's that defense out there. It's like, well, you can fight a ticket, and if it really wasn't you driving, you can go in there and prove it. But we've been beaten to death. We've been worn down to nubs. We're at nub status and dub status. We are at nub status as a society because we used to be skeptical of the government, and we used to be skeptical of charges brought against anybody. We'd say, well, let's see what the court says to say. We'd be interested in the defense, not in the prosecution. Now, it's, well, what'd you do wrong? You're arrested? Oh, shit, what'd you do? Oh, shit, oh, man, you're a rapist? Or, oh, shit, man, you're a coke dealer? It's like, no, I was at a party and there was copious amounts of drugs. I had no fucking idea. I was getting drunk in the basement. And all of a sudden, I'm arrested within possession, intent to distribute, all this bullshit. We've gone from innocent until proven guilty to you must have done something to provoke that. And everybody just nods their head and say, yeah, mm-hmm. These things, how in the fuck do red light cameras not get torn down by disparaged citizens constantly? How the fuck do they not get torn down? They should be torn down constantly. Spray painted over. Shot at with guns. Fuck it. But the government just puts up cameras, whatever level of government it is, they just start putting up cameras and people go, okay, the government put up cameras. We're pussies. We are a nation of pussies. Because I'm not going to shoot at one of those cameras with a gun. I can lament that people haven't, but I'm not going to fucking do it. I'm going to go to fucking prison, man. If I shoot a gun at a camera and I get caught, I'm going to fucking jail for like holy shit, because I know that probably that camera is classified as a police officer somehow. I mean, if they found a way to jerry-rig the system so that fucking dogs are classified as police officers, somehow the camera's going to be like a deputy or something. It's going to be. Like, are there police interns? Are there lower level of police officers? Like, the lowest level, whatever it is, the camera's going to be classified as that, and I would have shot at a fucking officer. Fuck that. Oh, shit, man. We're pussies. I should not be pussy to the point where if it pisses me off this much that this is going on, that I can't do anything about it. But I am. And I've been ingrained, I've been pussified my entire life. I almost didn't pass DARE. That was really my best and last action of civil disobedience. And it doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be violent. Civil disobedience. We need to bring that back. We need to bring that back. Not violence. I was mistaken before. Now that I think about it, violence isn't, as of right now, I reserve the right to bring back violence and the notion of bloody revolution back. But civil disobedience, we label as hippies the Occupy Wall Street people. No, those were some ballsy ass people right there. The civil disobedience that those people engaged in, and I watched the riot police in Chicago 2 years ago, beating the fuck out of the Occupy movement as they stood outside the G8 summit. I watched that happen. There wasn't a lot of violence. I was hoping for a Molotov cocktail to be thrown from the crowd onto some fucking disgusting pigs. It didn't happen. I was kind of upset. But civil disobedience is probably the way. We don't have that anymore. My last act of civil disobedience was I was being preached to by a police officer in 6th grade about DARE. DARE to keep kids off drugs and blah, 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 blah. And I believe it was a female cop. And she was talking about when a police officer comes to the door, if your parents are smoking drugs and a police officer comes to the door, you should let them in. And I raised my hand and I said, no. I raised my hand. She said, what, you have a question? I said, well, I'm not taught to do that. I don't think that's right. And she said, why not? What should you do? I said, you should ask for a warrant. And she looked at me like, what did you just fuck? I said, yeah, you should ask for a warrant. And I was looking around, when the police opens the door, if you open the door and it's the cops, they ask to come in, you ask for a warrant. And if they don't have one, you politely ask them to leave and shut and lock the door. And I was almost going to have to repeat the DARE program in junior high. It was 6th grade. I went to a K through 6 school. Junior high was 7 through 8. She was almost going to, because apparently it's a requirement in the state of Illinois that you have to pass the DARE program. She was going to hold me back for that kind of stuff because I was just a little fucking asshole. And every time the police will come and they'll stop you and blah, blah, blah. And I say, do they have a warrant? She say, oh. I said, do they have probable cause? And she's, that was just a shithead. But I was a cunning shithead. I wasn't just like a fuck you, teach, fuck you, man, sticking it to the man. I was like, well, you're preaching this bullshit, and I know it's bullshit, so I'm going to call you on it. She almost was going to not let me pass the class because apparently it was up to her whether I passed. And I would have to have repeated the course in 7th grade. And then my dad came down and he got me out of it somehow. But that was my last act. That was my last act of civil disobedience, really. I told a cop no once, but, here I was as a 6th grader, however old you are in 6th grade, giving a patrol officer shit. It was great. Oh, fuck that bitch. Fuck her, too. Fuck her. Because if she was any kind of good police officer, she would have said, yeah, yes, that's what you do. because we're going to operate within the confines of the law, not just telling children if the police come to the door, open it and let them in. No, fuck that. And fuck you, bitch. Get the fuck out of here with your pig-ass bullshit. Other than that, that's all I got. I'm a pussy now. Civil disobedience? Fuck that. You go to jail for civil disobedience. Fuck. We're a society of pussies, if anything. I know a lot of conservative podcasters and radio personalities like to decry the Occupy Wall Street movement. And I do too. I give them jabs like, corporations are evil, man, as I take pictures of the thing on my Canon Rebel DSLR or my Samsung phone, and I go to fucking Twitter to talk about it. Corporations are evil, man, as I wear my Dickies pants or Levi's or whatever. I don't give them shit for that, but they're one of the few groups of people in our society left that will actually have the balls to go and be civilly disobedient. And disobedient to authority, civilly, of course, for the most part, and deal with the consequences. Are they heroes? No, not by my definition, but they're certainly somebody to keep an eye on and not immediately dismiss out of hand. The Occupy Wall Street movement and the people that went down there to Chicago, New York, L.A., all the places that it popped up, had a lot bigger balls than probably the average person in society. You know, it's easy to call them hipsters or whatever and be like, oh, yeah, go back, live with your mom. But those people had fucking balls. The last time we saw balls even approaching anywhere near that level was the civil rights movement. Those people had some fucking balls because people were getting killed. I don't think any of the Occupy Wall Street guys got killed, but it still took some balls. I look around society, I see a lot of people bitching, not a lot of the equivalency of balls to back it up. So my hat's off to you, Occupy Wall Street movement. I'll give you jabs, but I'm not going to dismiss you completely. You guys got balls, not a lot of other people do. All right, let's bring it home. Woo, another great edition of The Lefty Show. Thank you all for joining. I hope you had a great time listening. I had a great time putting on the show for you. Thank you all for watching, liking, favoriting, and subscribing on YouTube. YouTube.com/LeftyOX is where you can go to find the show in its YouTube formation. Thank you to everybody for following me on Twitter @Lefty643. You want to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest Lefty Show news? Just go to Twitter.com/Lefty643. Again, @Lefty643. Thank you to everybody that's been sharing the show with friends, family, and coworkers. Easier to do now with an RSS feed. Go to LeftyShow.podbean.com. That's LeftyShow.podbean.com, or go to your favorite podcast or Android podcasting app of choice. Search The Lefty Show, subscribe to the feed there. Or if you want to help us climb the comedy charts, go to the iTunes store, search The Lefty Show. Be sure to subscribe and rate the feed there. You want to help keep the show afloat, go to imraising.com/643 Productions for donations. Anyway, guys, that's my time. I got to get out of here. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Enjoy your weekend. I'm out. Bye.